What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of Mile High Hockey. Will Peterson, Drew Spivak, back together this week, or I guess for the first time this week. We were with you last Friday, but Drew, obviously last night in Columbus felt like it had been a long time since the Avalanche had played a Monday matinee in Buffalo, and then not until a couple days later. I'm sure they got to enjoy beautiful Columbus for 48 hours. They certainly didn't come home, but good win for the Avs. Get down 1-0. No issues. Rally in the second period, end up with a 4-1 victory. Valeri Nichushkin gets a couple of goals. Brock Nelson gets a goal. So I think the big question that I have for you, and I think our audience is wondering is that second line clicking? And yes, it had only been 4 games, but there were some people causing panic. Are we at a point now 5 games in, where you're feeling like, okay, finally saw it from the second line last night. That was a big step forward.
Yeah, I think you got to feel like it. You know, seeing what Brock Nelson did last night, getting on the board, Valeri Nichushkin gets a couple goals, Gabe Landeskog gets an assist on the empty net goal. It feels like they finally started to get things figured out. And it's not like they were playing bad. I know people were kind of in a panic about it. It's not like they were looking bad, and they were still doing good things on defense. I think Jared Bednar even said that this line was still doing the right things. They just weren't getting the results. Maybe they weren't getting enough shots on goal to produce enough goals, but they were still doing the right things. So, yeah, I think it was really good to see those guys kind of get going last night. And I love seeing the fire and the passion from Valeri Nichushkin, wanting the pass. I think it was from Brent Burns initially where, he didn't get the pass. He's slamming his stick on the ice, wanting the pass. That's the kind of stuff I love to see from Valeri Nichushkin, that fiery type action. But I think it was really good to see those guys get going. And it's important because we talk all the time about the depth of this team. Like this team, you got to rely on the depth. These guys have had 9 different goal scorers already this year. You got 14 different guys on this roster with a point already. And while yes, depth is important and they got to have it, you've got to have production from your big guys. Nathan MacKinnon's got to score. Marty Necas has got to score. Gabe Landeskog has to score. Actually, I don't even care that much if Gabe Landeskog scores, to be honest with you. As long as Val and Brock are producing, Gabe can just kind of do what Gabe does and, be a little bit of an irritant, stuff like that, and just play good defensively. And I'm totally cool with that. But you got to have your top dog score in order to make a significant run towards the Stanley Cup. So I think last night was kind of the beginning of what's probably going to be a little bit of a taking off moment for that second line.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway too. Is like it almost looked like it had become mental and they were pressing a little bit, right? Those first couple of games, I thought they looked solid. Jared Bednar even told me after the Utah game, he thought his second line was the best line in that 2-1 win, even though they didn't score. And I think now sort of the floodgates, if you will, can kind of open for this line. It's like, okay, everyone take a deep breath. Everyone's on the board with at least a point. Nelson and Nichushkin are on the board with goals. And quite frankly, I love Nathan MacKinnon and Arturi Lehkonen and Cale Makar and Marty Necas, and we'll get to Cale in a moment because he did have a goal as well. But it was refreshing last night to watch the game and then go back and study the game and realize Nathan MacKinnon didn't have a point. To me, you win 4-1 and arguably the best player on earth doesn't have a point. That's actually a good thing in the long run for these Avs. You can't have 29 carrying you through an 82-game regular season and then 20, 22, 24 games in the playoffs.
And it's not just that, Will, and I think that's a great point that Nathan MacKinnon to me last night was the most invisible he's been all season, and it's totally fine.
Yes.
Because Marty Necas was able to step up and still get an assist. You had other guys that are stepping up and doing these things, and it's going to happen from time to time. Nathan MacKinnon can't be Superman every single night, although he plays like it a lot of the times. He can't be that guy night in and night out. So to have that, where you get other guys that are stepping up, like I said, 9 different guys have scored.
Yeah.
And there are 3 road games this year where you got 10 goals already. It's cool to see all these other guys stepping up and contributing. And that's not including the fact that, guess what? Your fourth line hasn't even scored a goal yet. Not that you expect your fourth line to score a goal, but the fact that they haven't really contributed offensively yet, other than Gavin Bradley. I guess Gavin Bradley's got a goal, but Parker Kelly and
Kiviranta,
yeah.
Yep.
Those are the 2 guys that really haven't contributed anything offensively. So, yeah, it's good to see these other guys stepping up. Marty Necas getting another point, now 3rd in the league behind Jack Eichel and I think Kirill Kaprizov as far as scoring goes for this Avalanche team. There's not much that you could sit here and nitpick and complain about with what's gone on through the first 5 games of this season. There's maybe 1 or 2 things, which I'm sure we can get into, but there's so much to like. And it also kind of feels in a way like they're not really fully clicking on all cylinders yet, which if I'm the rest of the National Hockey League, scares the daylights out of me, knowing that they're not fully clicking yet. And here we are, they're 4-0-1 after 5 games.
Yeah, 9 points through 5 games, very comfortably first in the Western Conference. ESPN came out with new power rankings today. Hadn't had them since before the season started. Avalanche moved from 6 to 3. The Carolina Hurricanes are 1. The Dallas Stars are 2. You were cracking me up, Drew. You said, not a lot to be disappointed about. I'm like, well, other than that Mikko Rantanen guy scoring the goal to win the shootout, the only reason have 10 points. But Anilo and I talked a lot about that on Tuesday. We don't have to rehash all of that. But let's get to other storylines from last night, too. Cale Makar, 400th game, gets a goal. Scott Wedgewood, for the 4th time in 5 games this year, only gives up 1 goal against. Mackenzie Blackwood terminated contract with the Eagles today. That was a weird phrasing from the Avalanche. He's fine. They just wanted him to go skate in Loveland, didn't want him to take him on the road trip. He's back with the big dogs now. But what was your biggest takeaway, Makar, Wedgewood? I'll give you the floor on either one. Good to see Cale in a milestone game get a goal. And then Scott Wedgewood, I mean, again, we've talked about it, but he's a backup goalie, but he's maybe the best backup goalie in the league right now.
It's got to be Wedgewood, right? I mean, we're talking 14 games now with a win in regulation. He hasn't lost in 14 games in regulation with his Avalanche team.
Wow.
It's incredible what he's doing. I mean, to give up 1 goal in all 4 of their wins this entire season, and your only loss is to Dallas in what was a great hockey game and a very even hockey game all the way through. It's incredible to see what Scott Wedgewood is doing. And, you have confidence every single time the puck goes on net that he's probably going to stop it. And this is an Avalanche team that's been giving up a decent amount of shots up until last night. I think last night they did a better job suppressing shots, but they've been giving up a fair amount of shots in the early going. And you kind of come away going, well, I'm not really worried about it because we can rely on Scott Wedgewood in between the pipes night in and night out. Now, it'll be interesting to see kind of how the rotation goes once Mackenzie Blackwood does come back, which I'm kind of anticipating now is probably going to be tomorrow night against Boston, maybe Tuesday night in Utah at the latest. So I'll be curious to see how Bednar kind of goes with this rotation now because, yes, we all know Mackenzie Blackwood, he's the number 1 goaltender. But it's hard to kind of think about putting Scott Wedgewood on the bench for any length of time because he's just played so darn well to start this entire season.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. It's a decision that Jared Bednar has with his goaltenders that for the first time in a long time is an envious one, right? Yeah. So often we think of Bednar going, am I going to play Georgiev or am I going to play Onanen? I don't like either option. And now he's going to have 2 good options. But you're right. I read that Mackenzie Blackwood news the same way, that you could see him as soon as Saturday. No practice for the Avs today, but we'll check out morning skate tomorrow and keep an eye on that as well. And then is it Wedgewood against the Bruins? How does this shake out at the end of the year? Do you look up and Blackwood played 45 games and Wedgewood played 35 games? I don't know if that would stun anyone considering Wedgewood's already got 5 under his belt, maybe even if it's 50-30, something like that. We'll have to see how it shakes out. Cale Makar, Drew, every time this guy takes the ice, he does something cool. I thought it was fitting that he scored, especially the goal to tie the game sort of midway through the second period in his 400th game. The broadcast was showing some of the graphics. I mean, it's him, it's Orr, it's Paul Coffey. He's already in all that company, what he's accomplished. We heap praise on this guy, and rightfully so, but it never gets old. And is there anything else you want to add just about the greatness that is Cale Makar and sort of you always have to remind yourself in the moment, appreciate this because it's not going to be here forever. It's going to be here for a long time, but it's not going to be here forever.
No, it's true. I mean, and it's always kind of hard to find the words to just appreciate how great this guy is. And what he does offensively is one thing because he's spectacular at that end, but I don't think that Cale Makar gets enough credit for what he does defensively. It's not sexy. It's not flashy, but he always seems to be in the right position. He always seems to be the guy that makes the right play in his own defensive end. Now, granted, it helps when you have a terrific defensive partner like you do in Devon Toews, but it's just it's special every single night to watch this guy. And I can't wait to see part of me kind of can't wait, but part of me is also a little bit worried about what that contract's going to look like next July 1st, because I mean, that dude is just, whatever the Avs offer him, it's probably not enough. In fact, I don't know if you saw I think it was the interview with his agent this morning on Daily Faceoff, where, he kind of was joking around. He's like, yeah, well, I can guarantee you my client's definitely going to be getting a pretty significant raise. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but he knows, like, just give Cale Makar and his agent a blank check and let him figure it out, because no matter what they pay, it's worth it. Whatever you do with it, like, you know what you're getting from Cale Makar night in and night out. And I just can't wait to see how his career progresses and where he ends up, if he can fully catch Bobby Orr as far as greatest defenseman of all time, because he's already number 2, number 3 with him and Paul Coffey. I mean, there's no question about it. So it's so much fun to appreciate what he does night in and night out.
Yeah, no, it just is. And it's, it's 5 games. I get it. But another Norris Trophy wouldn't shock anyone. Another cup, another Conn Smythe. I mean, the sky is really the limit for this guy. And we are just absolutely spoiled to get to see him play on a nightly basis. All right, that'll do it for us on Mile High Hockey today. We'll be back with you on Tuesday reacting to Avs and Bruins. Will we see Blackwood? I think a very valid question. Previewing their next game as well. Have a great weekend, everyone. The Avalanche, first place in the Western Conference, and we'll catch you in a few days.